If the best way to get rid of ghosts is Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd in uppity janitor outfits, then the best way to get rid of a ghost chain is just to pretend like it never existed at all. This is the strategy followed often by crypto media when it comes to Cardano. While this has not been news to anyone in our ecosystem for a long time, it feels like we're finally getting to that critical mass tipping point where the absurdity of the widespread media blackout on Cardano defies credulity. We are a monster-sized top 10 blockchain ecosystem, and we're basically feature complete. We've got smart contracts. We've got all the basic DeFi platforms. We've got NFTs. We've got true liquid staking. We've got true native tokens. We've got multiple smart contracting languages, both functional and imperative. And most importantly, we've got the strongest, most bulletproof community in all of crypto. In the next bull cycle, crypto media outlets should be more afraid of us boycotting them. Ready? Let's go. Today, we're going to discuss the ongoing media blackout on Cardano, a big Cardano surprise today for those of us who are a certain age in the 90s, some possibly concerning news out of Binance.com, and an update from Liqwid. If your favorite thing about this image is that there's not a single AI person in it with 12 fingers, or if you're finding value in these videos each weekday, please consider delegating to the Army of Spies stake pool, ticker AOS. Look at this. Just take a look at this. CZ of Binance today posted focus on users. If you're in Cardano, we love to see this. Why? Because Cardano has a ton of users. This is the Messari stats page for Cardano. Keep in mind, Messari are not like a den of Cardano lovers. They're not madly, romantically attracted to Cardano. I think there's maybe like one guy over there. I think we figured out what his name was even at one point. Was it Messari? We had the one guy at Messari. We knew his name, and we were all tweeting at him, giving him support for being the only guy at Messari who reported owning Cardano. Maybe I've got the wrong media outlet, but I think it was Messari. But Messari's stats page for Cardano says that Cardano has 4.3 million active addresses. This is the active addresses category. And in our addresses, this is 4.3 million. And active addresses over the last 24 hours, 73,767. This is quite a bit of activity. Think about that. Over the last 24 hours, what Messari, I believe, is reporting here is that 73,000 addresses have been active in the Cardano ecosystem. So those are just addresses that were doing something in the last 24 hours. I didn't do anything with my addresses in the last 24 hours. I didn't do a thing in Cardano that I can think of. I didn't actively do anything anyways, and I'm pretty active in the ecosystem. So these are just the people who happen to do something with their wallets in the last 24 hours. That's a lot of people. So as a Cardano person, you might see this post from CZ, focus on users, and you know what's coming. And you're thinking to yourself, the only reason CZ is going to be posting this is because it's going to make the Binance BNB smart chain look good, but it's also going to make Cardano look good. And this is great for Cardano because the CZ Twitter account has 8.1 million followers. This is great for Cardano. We're going to look so good. And then you blow up his little table here, and what do you see? We see, a bunch of blockchains with small daily active user numbers. And then we get up here in what should be the fourth place for Cardano, and we see Near Protocol, Solana, no Cardano. Polygon, Ethereum, BNB chain, no Cardano. Where is Cardano? Maybe it's in, there's two tables here. Maybe it's in this next table. Let's look. What do we have here? Daily active users by dApps. And do I see any Cardano dApps in here? None whatsoever. Nothing about Cardano whatsoever. But yeah, we just looked at the number. It was definitely right here. Cardano should be in fourth place according to these numbers. What's going on? I noticed at the bottom of this table, it says source, tokenterminal.com. Call me Mike Lowry. Call me Marcus Burnett. It's time to do some investigating. So I come on over here to tokenterminal.com to their Cardano page, look through their stats. Looks like they've got, a price that seems about right. They've got a bunch of volume numbers, circulating market cap, fully diluted market cap. Come on down here. And what do we have? Daily active users. Not applicable. Not applicable. Data not available yet. We are working on adding this data. Masari has the data, but apparently Token Terminal does not. How convenient, because then you can use their chart, and it looks like Cardano has an amount of daily active users that doesn't even put it on the chart. A lot of shade gets thrown at CZ. And I've said before on this channel, I'll say it again. I actually like a lot of things about CZ because in a lot of ways, he is a true crypto guy. A lot of the things he says about crypto, the things he says publicly about crypto, are kind of in line with that original crypto thesis, that whole ethos of crypto back in the old days, back in that 2013, 2014 period when I first got into crypto. A lot of the things he says ring consistent with the ethos of that time. But some of the things CZ does aren't necessarily consistent with that time, especially in terms of the effect his centralized platform has on decentralization. And that is also why CZ should have known that there was something wrong with those tables. He certainly does know about the Cardano ecosystem because he runs the biggest validator group in our entire ecosystem. Binance is the entity that is most hurting the Cardano Nakamoto coefficient, our Cardano decentralization, our Cardano minimum attack vector. Binance has more Cardano stake pools than anybody. Look at this, 62. If cexplorer.io is correct here, 62. Avengers, which I believe everyone thinks is Coinbase, has 46. Binance has 62. You can't possibly be running that many validators in the Cardano ecosystem without having some inkling that maybe it should have been on that chart. But hey, CZ has a lot going on right now, which we'll get to in just a second. So it might be that he just had other things on his mind, and he doesn't have the bandwidth to be paying attention to things like this. CZ might not have been paying a lot of attention today, but you know who was? If you were a teenager in the 90s like I was, it probably would have been hard not to spend a lot of time with Mr. Martin Lawrence. His TV show, Martin, was one of the biggest TV shows in the 90s, at least by my estimation. And the original Bad Boys, I don't know if I watched this thing a million times as a teenager, but I definitely watched it a lot. Martin Lawrence posted this. He posted a 54-second clip from the Army of Spies episode from yesterday on Twitter today. He said, "Your boy learned y'all can Python on Cardano now," and tagged Charles. This is kind of mind-blowing to me, having been entertained by Martin Lawrence so much over the years, and him having been around so much in my teenage years. It's very surreal and incredible to see this post. But I think it's more representative of kind of the turning point for Cardano. We may have suffered at the hands of crypto media for a long time because we represented a challenge to the status quo. And let's face it, the press in general, they're kind of beholden to whoever is paying the bills. And so if you've got a new upstart challenger who might upset the status quo dominant players, their coverage of that new challenger may leave something wanting. They may not cover that as heavily as they would cover the status quo players who can actually afford to pay all the bills. But somebody like Martin Lawrence, he's not a part of crypto media. He's just probably looking at the crypto scene and gravitating towards whatever is the most interesting. And I've contended for a long time, if you have an unbiased mind and you look at the entire crypto landscape and you focus on the large cap cryptocurrencies, it's pretty hard not to see these glaring differences between what Cardano brings to the table and what something like Ethereum brings to the table. We've got true liquid staking. If you're going to stake a bunch of money in a proof of stake blockchain ecosystem, do you want to stake it where it might get slashed or where there is no slashing? Do you want to go into an ecosystem where all of the tokens and NFTs are the product of smart contracts that might have exploitable code? Or do you want to go into the ecosystem where the tokens, NFTs, they're all native tokens? There is no smart contract. They're born of the blockchain itself. I've contended for a long time that if you actually understand these things, you're naturally going to gravitate toward Cardano. In this next crypto cycle, we're going to see a lot of new people come into crypto. And I think a lot of them will be open-minded, just like Martin Lawrence. They're going to look at the actual merits of the various blockchains in the top 10, and it's going to be hard not to gravitate toward Cardano given what we're offering. Thank you again to the Martin Lawrence account for retweeting that video segment. I really appreciate it. In this era of streaming media with YouTube and Netflix and Hulu and all the other streaming platforms, it's hard to even explain the colossal cultural force that was network television and big budget Hollywood blockbuster movies back in the day. But I spent a lot of time being entertained by Martin Lawrence. And he also announced about a week ago that they're making Bad Boys 4. So when this movie comes out, everybody in Cardano should go watch it. I said earlier that CZ might be preoccupied with other things right now. And this is what I was talking about, this post from Binance. And note, this is Binance.com, not Binance.us, which Binance very desperately wants you to know are two different entities. So Binance.com says, from February 8th, we will temporarily suspend all USD bank transfers. Only a small proportion of our users will be impacted by this, and we are working hard to restart the service as soon as possible. All their methods of buying and selling crypto remain unaffected. So whenever you see something like this, when any kind of centralized exchange is suspending US dollar bank transfers, you have to stop and wonder what exactly is going on. By the way, here's the part where they were very anxious to let you know that Binance.us and Binance.com are two different entities. Somebody asked, does this apply to Binance.us? Binance.us jumped in and said, hello, we are not suspending USD. This news is only for Binance.com. We are completely separate entities. Of course you are. You just are both called Binance and you have exactly the same logo. Besides that, you have absolutely nothing in common. It's not like Binance.us was created purely to satisfy regulatory concerns, but regardless of which entity is which, this whole pause on US bank transfers is making mainstream news. And there's speculation about why this might be going on. So here Gizmodo reports the issue could stem from a problem with Binance's US banking partner, Signature Bank. As suggested by Bloomberg, crypto exchanges like Binance rely on partners to facilitate the transfer of money back and forth between blockchain wallets and actual bank accounts. You're probably aware all these centralized exchanges, they aren't allowed to just accept ACHs and wires and transfers like that on their own. In order to accept something like an ACH transfer, you have to be a part of the Federal Reserve's sort of suite of services, and only banks can be a part of that. You have to be a bank with an actual routing number. And crypto centralized exchanges are not those. They are not banks. So they have to be a client of an actual bank who's a part of those Federal Reserve service systems. And the bank can accept things like wires and ACH transfers into the account of their client, which is the Binance or the other centralized exchange. So it looks like Binance's banking partner is cutting back And they say the financial institution announced it would only handle crypto transactions larger than 100,000. So people see this. Whenever you see a bank, an actual bank, stepping back or cutting down on its relationship with a crypto entity, people start asking questions like, is this purely an economic issue? Or is the bank worried about some kind of regulatory risk? Regardless of whatever's going on, crypto people were happy to add their own speculation. This poster said, Binance getting dropped by their banking partner feels like the canary in the coal mine. I doubt systemic risk to Binance, but I wouldn't be surprised if regulatory action is imminent. As we've discussed previously on this channel, and even as was reported not too long ago on just January 24th by Gizmodo, the same outlet, US authorities have been reportedly investigating Binance for nearly 4 years. Recent enforcement actions against entities connected to Binance is putting even more pressure on the world's largest exchange. So this was related to Bits Lotto. So the feds had that big presser. And everybody thought they were going to announce charges against some well-known centralized exchange or some other crypto entity or something. And it was this Bits Lotto thing, which kind of surprised everybody. But there have been these lingering reports of this 4 years of investigation of Binance by federal law enforcement authorities. So we don't know where that's going to go. We don't know if the feds will come out and announce something related to Binance, or if they haven't really turned anything up in all these years and that just goes away. But I'm sure those are the kind of things that CZ is thinking about on a daily basis. Finally, if you found all the issues around Liqwid's tokenomics and how the LQ token works to be a little bit confusing, because there's been quite a bit going on over the last week or so, Liqwid has published yesterday this Substack article that kind of gives you a rundown of everything they think you need to know about tokenomics and utility for the LQ token. So if you want a sort of a rundown of everything that's happened, you can come check out this article at the Liqwid Finance Substack. Liqwid also just announced a live governance proposal to add support for JED lending and borrowing on their platform. I hope everybody is having a great week, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.